This is the Unit 5-6 review for the test on 1025 and 6. So, scatterplot displays data regarding paired variables. And so we want to look at the association. So if we can form a line out of that association, then we're going to say it's linear. If we can't, and there is some association, we'll say it's nonlinear, like this one's curved, so nonlinear. And then no association means that there's nothing that you can do to connect the dots in any meaningful way. And so this one, once again, is a curve, and then the last one, again, is a line. And, you know, I'm not drawing them super straight or whatever, but you get the idea. And so in this case, we've got linear, nonlinear, no association, then nonlinear and linear again. Okay, Tyler started a lawn service. Okay, wanted to earn some money. And this shows the number of lawns versus the amount earned. Okay, so he mows one lawn, makes $25. And so we need 125. And right off the bat, number of lawns is messed up here and here. So we don't even need to look at these two because we don't count 9 to 1 down in the bottom, right? We don't count down whenever we're dealing with numbers. So that one's not right. Number of lawns is not 25, 50. That's massive amount of lawns for almost no money. So that one doesn't make sense at all. So we're left between the two of these. And we can see 125 is a check for both of them. 125 is a check for both of them, right? Now, the second value is not given, so we don't know 2, but we do know 375. And if you look here and we zoom in carefully, this value here is not 75. It's slightly under 75, but it's not 75. So B can't be right, and if we do look here, it does give us 75. So 375 works, and so we get value or answer A. Okay, so we just have to look for these things on the graph, and that's it. Number 3, linear. Once again, we're talking about a line. Linear, that's curved, that's nothing, and that is a line. So we have D. Again, we're talking about linear and nonlinear. That can have a line, and this looks like it's almost perfectly a V, and V is not a line, so nonlinear and linear. So A is linear because it forms a line, and B is nonlinear. So we want A to be linear and B to be nonlinear, and that is answer G. It says right here, A is linear, B is nonlinear. So these are pretty straightforward. Is it a line? Is it not a line? How do those react? And that's it. Okay, number 5. Now we're getting to predicting some values based on the data in the line. Okay, so Melissa collected data, and then she recorded how many people were in front of her and how long she had to wait at different times. Okay, she went again to the grocery store, and she had to wait because there were 6 people in front of her. So people is down here. So I'm going to go to 6 people and just draw up till I hit the line. And once I hit the line, I'm going to draw over, and that value is 12. So at 12 minutes, at 6 people, it should take about 12 minutes in line. So once again, I went to the people because people was here, and then I drew my line up at 6 because it said 6, and then I went over to the y value associated with that at the point on the line. Okay. Now, number 6, the graph shows a relationship between the average number of cavities in a person by a dentist and total minutes they spend brushing their teeth. Okay, so before I can even do anything, I need to draw my line on this graph, and so I've got a line. Kind of looks like that. It's not perfect, but looked good enough to me. Okay, a dentist finds 3 cavities in a person's checkup. Which prediction is best? So once again, I have to match the thing I'm looking for with the axis that it goes on. So which of the two axes are cavities? This one. So that means I need to go to 3 on the y-axis and see where it crosses. And it crosses really close to 1. In order for, and I know it's not quite 1, but it's a little past, but remember 175 is over here. So I'd need to go over a whole block almost to be closer to that value than to 1. So 1 it is. Okay. Number 7, Freedom Tower, New York City has 102 floors with elevators that travel astonishing speeds. Scatterplot shows a relationship between floor Y and the average number of seconds the elevator takes to get from 102 to that floor. So once again, first thing I'm going to do is kind of just draw a line. So I've drawn a line as best I can through the points. And so now what I'm going to do is read the question. We've got, what is the best prediction for the number of seconds it will take an elevator to descend from 102 to floor 50? Okay, so I care about floor 50. I start at 102, so it doesn't really do me any good to draw a line at 102 because I know that it crosses at 0 seconds because I start there. But floor 50 is what I'm interested in, so that's pretty bad. So if I draw straight over, if you notice, it's kind of past 21, but it's definitely not super far over here. It's right there. And my answer choices give me 19, 24, 21, and 28. Well, it's definitely not 19, and it's definitely not 21 because those are over here, and we're past that. But 28 is way off in this section, so it's not 28, and thus my only choice that makes some sort of sense is A. Now, some students may draw their line a little bit differently, and you may end up with B as a possible choice. So if you put B because of the error of human drawing, I would be okay with that. Now on the test, there isn't any that are that subjective. They're all going to be very obvious which answer choice it will be. Okay, and so we have a similar problem here. The scatterplot represents the height and weights of groups of people, and it wants to know at 72 inches tall. So once again, height in inches is down here, but 72 is off the grid. 72 is up here. So I'm gonna have to do this and make my own line. And when I do that and I go over from there, it's slightly above 160, which puts me at G, 163. Remember, if I'm speaking fast or going a little too fast, you can always reduce the speed in the YouTube video, or you can pause and rewind. Okay, so scatterplot shows cost in dollars of 5 different ladders, okay, based on the length of the ladder. So we got a line like that. Use the trend line to predict the cost of 6-foot ladder. Okay, well, I need to go to 6 feet. So feet is down here, I need to go to 6. So I just go up, whoa, across there, and then go over. Once again, I'm around 60, 65, which would be C. The graph shows a relationship between the cost to rent a scooter, Y, and the number of hours a scooter is rented. So, a trick. If we go through 0, 0, all I need to do is go to x equal 1 to find my y value. What is my y value? And why does this work? Because rise over run is y, change in y over change in x. And if I go to x of 1, if I put a 1 on the bottom, whatever I'm dividing by is just that number. So that's why this trick works. So what's the value at 1? If I go to 1, I get a value here, which is 2.5. And 1 divided by 2.5 is 2.5. So we get J, y equals 2.5x. And we know that there's no b value on the end because we started at 0, 0. A case of bottled water contains 24 bottles. Each case contains a total of that many ounces, 4056. Okay, so if I want to know a relationship between water bottles and ounces, then I want to know probably how many ounces are in each bottle. So in order to find the ounces in each bottle, I need to take 405.6 and divide by 24. And when I divide by 24, I get 16.9. And so we have two choices. We've got A and we've got D. A and D. Now, the difference is this thing on the end. So A says, if I have 0 water bottles, I still have 24 ounces of water somewhere. Well, that doesn't make sense in the case of water. You can't have just water without a bottle. So in other words, if I have 0 water bottles, I better get back 0 ounces. And the only two, this one doesn't do that, this one does that. So that's why D is the answer, because I can't have 24 bottles of water with, I can't have 24 bottles of water and then divide and then have leftover water without anywhere to go, right? We need a bottle for that water. So 12 is very similar, okay? Susan works at the corner bakery and can produce 18 pastries in 1.5 hours. So once again, if 0 hours goes by, she's produced 0 pastries. So we expect the line to go through the point 0, 0. So it can't be H. Okay, so we can already mark off H because it doesn't go through 0, 0 down here. So I need to find the rate per hour. So each hour, how many pastries does she make? Well, once again, that's just the total over how long it takes. And 1/2 is really 0.5. So that's where this 0.5 came from, 1/2. So when I divide 18 by 1.5, I get 12. And so my equation becomes y equals 12x. Well, we know f's not right now because we have 12x. So we have to differentiate between g and j. And so let's plug in the number 2, because up here it says 2 is 24, and down here it says 2 is 21. So if we plug in the x value of 2, we should be able to determine which of those two it is. Well, what's 24 times 12? Sorry, what's 12 times 2? I gave you the answer, 24. And so we now have, when x is 2, y is 24. And that is not j, it is g. Okay, number 13, a similar type problem. A beaker with 3 milliliters of saline was placed underneath a drip. Okay, well, I'm done reading at this point. Okay, I'm going to only use the information I know right now. So right off the bat, I'm looking for a water container that already has 3 milliliters. This only has 1. This has 0. So B and C both meet the criteria of starting with 3. So I can mark A and D off. Okay. The next condition is that after 2 minutes, it drips 1 milliliter every time 2 minutes goes by. So I'm going to zoom in here and get rid of that. And we're going to go and we're going to just follow. We're going to draw our lines. Okay. This says 1 minute has gone by, 2 drops of saline. 1 minute, 2 drops. 1 minute, 2 drops. Okay, so that is not what we want. We want 2 minutes for every one of these. So let's go to the next one up here on the top, and let's look at C and see 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. So 2 minutes goes by, because minutes are down here. 2 minutes, 1 drop. 2 minutes, 1 drop. 2 minutes, 1 drop. So this one says for every 2 minutes, we go up, we get 1 drop of liquid up. So it must be C. So you can see the difference in these two. This one is 1 by 2. This one is 2 and 1. So be careful. Make sure you read the things carefully. 2 minutes, 1 milliliter. Minutes is on bottom, milliliters is on the side. Okay? It could be easy to switch those up if you don't read the X and Y labels correctly. Okay, number 14 is a lot more simple than you might make it out to be. So if we're given an equation and we're given tables, all we have to do is, like the old Glade commercial that none of you are old enough to remember, plug it in, plug it in. And so anyway, I hope that annoys you and you remember it. But what I'm going to do is, as I've said several times in class, I'm going to replace x, I'm going to erase x, and I'm going to put in the thing that is x. So here's 2. Okay. So what's 2 times 2? That's 4. Plus 1 is 5. So when I plug 2 into this function, I get back 5. But that's not 5, that's 1. So F is not right. Over here, it says 2 goes with 3. Well, my equation says 2 goes with 5. So that's not right. This one says 2 goes with 5. So that's correct. This one says 2 goes with 7. So that's not correct. Now, I got lucky in this problem because I only had to plug one number in. But let's say you also had 2 that had 2, 5. So you might have to do another number. So let's plug in, let's plug in 3. Well, what's 2 times 3? That's 6 plus 1. What's 6 plus 1 is 7. So when I get 3, I should have 7. And lo and behold, 3, 7 works. Okay? So all you have to do is plug it in, and that should give you your answer. So in this case, it's H. The table shows charge in cents for an international phone call based on the number of minutes. Okay, so which equation can be used to determine the cost? And so I already know off the bat I'm trying to find some sort of equation, and these are all linear. They're all lines. So I'm going to find change in y, which is 8, 8, 8, and change in x, which is 1, 1, and 1. And so my m is change in y over change in x. Well, all I have to do is divide. So y is over here, and so I'm going to take 8 over 1, which is what? Well, that's just 8. Okay, so I now have m. So I have y equals 8x plus, and now I've got to find b. Okay, well, I need x to be 0 for b. So so x equals 0, b value, for the b value. Okay, so I got to put a 0 here. How do I go from 1 to 0? Well, I subtract 1. And if I go by 1 on the left side here, then I have to go backward on this side by the piece that it was growing by every time. And in this case, it was growing by 8 every time. So I've got to take away 8 from this value. So what is 20 minus 8? Well, that turns out to be 12. Now, we didn't actually have to do that because C is the only one where 8 is the M, as you can see here. But it is helpful to know that if I go back to 0, I can also go back to 12 up here. Okay, so I did it even though it was unnecessary. Greenfields Plant Nursery delivers plants to its customers. The nursery sells plants for $12 each, a delivery charge of $22. Okay, so right off the bat, we have to remember M is the thing that goes with change. M, change. Think M and changes. And then B is a one-time thing. One-time thing. Okay? So I've got two values, 22 and 12 each. The key word there is going to be each, so 12 each. You can always rewrite the word each as your variable x in these type of problems. And then the thing that occurs one time is going to be that $22, so plus 22. So right off the bat, we know that h is not right because it's backward. H is backward. So now I have to decide, well, let's plug in 1. You know, F says 1. We did that on the previous thing, so let's just plug in a 1 and see what happens. So y equals 12 plus 22. And I'm going to do it in a different color so it really stands out. 1. Okay, what's 12 times 1? That's 12 plus 22, which is 34. So we know F's not right because it doesn't go 134, it's 112. So now I have to check here. My B says it crosses at 22. Well, this definitely crosses at 22. And then we just found out that 1 has to go with 34. And if you look carefully, it does cross halfway between those two values, which would be 34. So in this case, G is our answer. Okay, number 17. Laura performed an experiment in her science class. She dropped marbles into a jar of water and recorded the height of the water after the marbles were added. Okay, so we've got some marbles and we've got some water, and we know we want to write it in the form of y equals mx plus b. Okay, so once again, I'm going to start with the easier one, which is b. Okay, so y equals mx plus b. Well, where does it cross? It crosses the y-axis. Remember, y-axis at 5. So I already know b without doing anything. I've literally done nothing. Okay, and then I need to go from that point at 5 to the point up here on the right. Well, how far up and down do I need to move in order to go from 5 to that point? Just one. And then how far left and right do I need to move? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 blocks, but we have to remember, each block may not be 1. So if we look down here, going 8 blocks is actually equal to a value of 20. Because down here we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blocks is 20. So it's not really 8 blocks is 8. It's 8 blocks is 20. So I've got 1 on this side and 20 over there. And my rule for M is rise, which was 1, over run, which was 20. Because we said 8 blocks was really 20 number of marbles. It was 20. So that is our equation. Okay. Now, number 18 is the same exact idea, but instead of having to do all of the work, we just have to read it and identify M, the piece that changes, B, the piece that doesn't. So Leticia is selling raffle tickets for her class fundraiser. Her class receives 4/5. So right off the bat, I'm going to stop there. 4/5 raised of the money raised from selling the raffle tickets. So is 4/5 going to be the thing that changes based on something else, or is it going to be the thing that occurs one time? Well, since it says 4/5 of the money raised from selling tickets, we know that that is the M, the slope. It's the value that you would get depends on how much money is received. And then they already had 200 in the balance. So 200 was already in their account. And so that's why the 200 is the B value, the value that doesn't change. It stays the same. Okay, come on. Goodness. Okay. Number 19 is similar to 15. We have to find the difference between the values here. And so we subtract. So 105 minus 8250 is 2250. 135 minus 105 is 30. And lastly, 157.50 minus 135 is 2250 as well. And then on this side, we have 3 and 4 and 3. Now, you may be asking, again, why did I do that? Because earlier on number 15, we said M is equal to change in Y over change in X. Well, it turns out that we just subtract to find the change. So change in Y would be 22 over 50, and the X that is associated with that one is this one, which would be 3. Okay, and you could have used the middle one. You could have used this one and this one as well, as long as you use the things that are connected. The change in Y and the change in X that are connected, then it will work. When we divide, we get $7.50. So that seems like not a whole lot, but y equals 750x. And remember, this is m. This is our m value. Now, this time I'm not going to go back to solve at 0. And the reason I'm not going to is because, once again, we have 750 as our slope, which can only be b. Okay? And so the last question here is the very same question, but this time it doesn't give us a, b, c, d, so we've got to do everything on our own. So change in y, 0.8, 0.4, 0.4, 0.2, and then this is 1, this is 0.5, this is 0.5, this is 0.25. Okay, now once again, I could pick any pairing. I could pick any of these and any of these, but I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do instead is pick this one and this one, because those are easier to deal with. So y equals 0.8x, because change in y over change in x is 0.8, right? Anything divided by 1 is itself. Okay, and so now I have to go back to 0. So I need to get 0 right here. How do I go from 1 to 0? Well, I subtract 1. So I have gone down by how many? By the exact value of my run. So if I go down by the exact value of my run on the left side over here, if I've gone down by that exact value of the run, then on this side I should go down by the exact value of the rise, this value. So I should subtract 0.8. So what is 5.3 minus 0.8? It's 4.50. So add 4.50, and we now have our equation. Okay, there are other ways to do this. I could take a point and plug it in. So let me show you that way as well. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, we know m is 0.8. And I'm just going to pick this point, first point. Okay, so my y value for that one was 530. And my x value was 1. And so we still don't know b, though. B is the question mark, right? B is the question mark. So 0.1 times 8 is, well, 0.8. So 5.3 equals 0.8 plus b. And the last step here is, how do I undo a positive 0.8 on this side? Well, I have to subtract 0.8 on both sides. And so 5.3 minus 0.8 is 4.5 equals, these cancel, leaving me with b. Now, some of you might have just said, well, if I have 5.3 equals 0.8 plus a number, well, can't I just figure out that number by adding things to this until I get that value back? Sure, you could do that, but it might take you a little bit longer. Okay, and so all of those things point still, whether you do it this way, or the way that I did it, all point back to this. Okay, we'll have the test, and I hope you do your best. If you have any questions, you can always send me an email.